The jungle felt different now. Not just dangerous, but alive. Every step the expedition took seemed to echo through the dense green walls around them, as if the forest itself was watching, waiting, deciding their fate. The air was thick with humidity, pressing against their lungs, making each breath a struggle. The river beside them no longer sounded like water. It sounded like a warning. Theodore Roosevelt moved slowly, his body trembling with fever. Sweat covered his face, his clothes soaked, his strength fading with every passing hour. The illness had settled deep inside him, draining him from within. But he refused to fall. Not here. Not like this. He had faced wars, led a nation, and challenged the impossible. The jungle would not be the place where his story ended. Still, his body was beginning to disagree. Each step became heavier, each movement slower. The ground beneath his feet felt unstable, as if it might give way at any moment. The men around him noticed, but no one said anything. They didn't need to. They all understood the truth. If Roosevelt fell, everything could fall apart. Food had become a distant memory. The small reserves they once carried were gone, lost in the river, destroyed in accidents or consumed in desperation. What remained was almost nothing. Hunger changed people. It made them quiet. It made them desperate. Some of the men tried fishing, casting lines into the dark waters, hoping for anything. Sometimes they caught small fish, barely enough to share. Other times, nothing. The jungle offered fruits, but many were unknown, possibly dangerous. Eating the wrong thing could be worse than starving. So they took risks. And sometimes, those risks made things worse. Days passed where their stomachs remained empty, their bodies weakened, their minds slowed, and still they kept moving. The river became more unpredictable the deeper they went. Calm waters would suddenly turn violent, crashing into hidden rocks that tore through their fragile canoes. More than once, their supplies were nearly lost again. Every crossing felt like a gamble. Every rapid felt like a test. Sometimes the only option was to leave the river entirely. They dragged their canoes across land, cutting through thick jungle that seemed determined to stop them. Vines wrapped around their legs, roots tripped their steps, insects swarmed their skin relentlessly. It was not just a journey anymore. It was survival against a world that did not want them there. And then came the silence. It happened slowly. The sounds of birds faded. The distant cries of animals disappeared. Even the wind seemed to stop. The jungle became unnaturally quiet. That was when they knew. They were being watched. No one said it out loud at first, but every man felt it. Eyes in the darkness, movement just beyond sight. One day, the proof came. An arrow, sharp, precise, embedded deep into a tree near their path. It had not been fired to kill. It had been fired to warn. The expedition had entered territory that did not belong to them. Tribes lived here, hidden, isolated, and protective of their land. These were people who knew the jungle better than anyone. They could move without sound, strike without warning, disappear without a trace. That night, no one slept. The fire burned low as the men sat close together, rifles ready, eyes scanning the darkness. Every sound felt louder. Every shadow looked like movement. Fear settled into their bones, and it did not leave. But the greatest danger was not outside. It was inside. The pressure of survival had begun to break them. One man, already weakened by hunger and exhaustion, began to lose control. His thoughts became unstable, his actions unpredictable. The line between fear and reality blurred. And then it happened. A sudden act of violence shattered the fragile unity of the group. A gunshot rang out, echoing through the jungle. Panic followed. Shouts, confusion, chaos. When it ended, nothing felt the same. The man responsible fled into the jungle, disappearing into the endless green. No one chased him. No one needed to. Out there, alone, survival was nearly impossible. The jungle would decide his fate. After that, everything changed. Trust became fragile. Silence became heavier. Every man focused only on one thing now: survival. Roosevelt's condition worsened. The fever burned hotter. His strength faded faster. Walking became a painful effort, each step requiring all the energy he had left. He knew the truth. He was slowing them down. And in the Amazon, slowing down meant death. One night, as the fire flickered weakly in the darkness, Roosevelt made a decision, a quiet, devastating decision. If he became too weak to continue, they must leave him behind. He spoke calmly, but the weight of his words was crushing. No one wanted to hear it. No one wanted to accept it. But they all understood, because deep down, they had already thought the same thing. Morning came, and against all odds, Roosevelt stood, weak, shaking, exhausted, but standing. He took one step, then another, and the journey continued. Days turned into weeks. Pain became normal. Hunger became constant. Fear became familiar. But something began to change. The river, once violent and unpredictable, started to calm. The roaring rapids became quieter. The current slowed. The path ahead became clearer. It was the first sign. They were getting closer. Closer to safety. Closer to survival. Hope returned. Not all at once, but slowly with each step forward. The men moved faster now, driven by something they had almost forgotten, the belief that they might actually make it out alive. And then, finally, the river widened, the jungle thinned, the air felt different, lighter. They had done it. They had survived the impossible. But survival came with a cost. The jungle had taken something from each of them. For Roosevelt, it was his strength. His health would never fully recover. The expedition would leave a mark on him for the rest of his life. But it had also given him something, a legacy, a story that would be remembered. Because the river they had hazed, the river that had nearly taken everything, would no longer be called the River of Doubt. It would carry a new name, a name history would never forget.